Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. To my left, I've got the one and only Mr. Matt.
Afternoon, Dan. How are you?
I'm very well. You alright?
Yeah, well, it's been a good week, hasn't it? If we can't be all right after the week we've had, we never will be, will we?
I had three good victories for
Yeah,
me and then Forest winning them games.
yeah. In style, really,
Mm. I
in all
mean,
cases.
yeah, just a bit.
Mm.
Coming from behind to beat Cooper on Wednesday, then sets us up for a game on Sunday against them up from the north.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's nice to have the points in the bag, and it's a kind of bonus, isn't it? You know, whatever happens, it's kind of like a reward. It's like, well done, you've got your 6 points. Now you can play a sort of glamour team and have a go at them. And hopefully they'll put up a decent display. Like however difficult it might seem, it'd be nice if they could mirror the boxing and take a few blows, but sort of stick them through the onion bag at the end, maybe.
Yeah. Obviously, Klopp's coming to England. It's in England. Lost my words
Well,
there.
proper England.
Yeah, proper England. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's coming to Notts for the first time, and he said in his press conference this morning that um, he's never heard of Nottingham bar Robin Hood, and obviously he will know about it when he leaves Sunday night.
Well, he hasn't done much research then, has he? He's just covered a few fables and things like that. He's just got Maid Marian on his radar, sort of thing. But yeah, so let's hope that's the case. Let's hope he comes clueless and we can hijack him, just
Yeah,
like they did. You know, their rich friends that were passing through unawares.
yeah, definitely. I mean, what are you expecting from Sunday's game?
Well, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I think we're kind of a decent match for anyone, and in the cup. Well, I mean, a lot depends, obviously, what kind of a team they put out. And I think the vibes are they're going to put out a kind of mixed team with a few sort of special players on the bench if they need them, and hope to kind of win, but not, be aware they're playing in Europe and stuff like that. And they want to protect their players a little bit, which you can understand. So yeah, it partly depends on selection and the cup. You can get really low, league teams, can't you, making a decent fist of it. So why shouldn't we? I personally think we'll make a decent fist of it, and there'll only be a goal or two in it, whatever happens. And it might be, quite tight at half time and so forth. You've got to be a little bit, away with the fairies to say, yeah, we're going to win. But I think we're not going to, we're going to live with them, at least. I hope. Given what we've done in the previous rounds, I think we can do a similar job.
That's the main thing. I mean, we reached them heights against Leicester and Arsenal, where Arsenal we nicked it at the end. Leicester were more comfortable while that last 10 minutes on the first half, but obviously Forest reached them heights against Liverpool. I mean, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, I mean, we know they can perform every week. We're more amazed now how they've put in some of those poor performances they did where they were really out of sorts. But on the whole, they're very reliable and they're getting better, I feel like. The subs, the squad as a whole seems a lot stronger. And Cooper's been able to overcome the issues he's had with injuries and rearranging things really well, better than you could have ever imagined. Really, we've almost done better when he's had to think about it and rearrange the deck chairs sort of thing. So yeah, you've got to be confident because he's a good coach. He's not going to get rolled over and ambushed, I don't think. They're going to be really up for it. Half of them are never going to get the chance to play against players of this calibre ever again in their careers. So, they should enjoy the day, test themselves, find out how good they are. And I think we've got, at least half the team are perfectly capable of being able to play in the Premier League in the future, definitely. And a few of them you never would have ever imagined could dream of that now. So, we're on the up, and hopefully it's not 5 or 6 of them. It's all 11, 12, 14 of them are playing in the Premier League next season with us, with our shirts on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously we are expecting it to be that sort of mixed team, as you said, with from Liverpool. I mean, I think we sort of started to show now, me more in the last couple of games, that even if we have to rejuggle, we're still looking a threat going forward. I mean, even on Wednesday when we brought some of them finishers on, as Cooper calls them, we're looking more and more as a threat, and we seem to find our scoring boots more now than we have done, because we scored 7 goals in the last 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, we're scoring proper football goals. We're passing the ball around and working openings, and we've got fresh legs coming on, and it suits us, doesn't it? You know, if you've got players that can all play football, you can bring on 3 or 4 players that are capable of doing it later on in the game. They're going to be tired, hopefully, because, you know, I just like the approach we have, where it's full on, isn't it? It's like we swarm all over them, and I personally wasn't that worried at all when we went behind. It was like, you'd rather not, but you just think, well, you know, we might not win now when you've gone behind, but you're very confident we're going to equalise, and it's just a question of if we have enough time. You know, overall, we're going to win. We're just behind, so it's just like, and I was also impressed that we got into the 82nd minute or whatever it was, and they weren't just chucking balls forward. They were being patient, playing it around, and you know, the subs contributed quite a lot, didn't they? Again, when they came on, they were all good. You know, Surridge, Cafu, Lolly especially, I thought, would look really sharp, and they're going to be big players coming into the season, and with Grabban as well coming back. You know, they're all hopefully going to be fresh, hungry, and they're going to have trouble getting into the team. But, you know, and even those which are playing, like Zig, he's got a couple of big games in him that he kind of owes us. So it's nice to be overwhelmed by the attacking options for a change, isn't it? You know, a few weeks ago, before the transfer window, he said, Grabban, if he gets injured, we're going to struggle and so forth. And now we haven't even we're scoring more goals than ever without him, on using sort of plan B. And when he comes back, wow, you know, we're going to have all kinds of options. The worry, obviously, is at the back, with McKenna potentially picking up a knock. I thought Figueiredo played brilliantly when he came in. You know, he slipped over, but that can happen to anyone. And we paid for it. But obviously, McKenna's a concern. Cook's out. Lowe's obviously out. Do you compromise? Do you put Colback back there? You know, he's obviously a very good player. But is he better than an international left back? Should he be? Does he need to be in a back 5? Does he need to be now in a weakened back 5? It's tricky, isn't it? Do you have him in midfield? If you have him in midfield, do you play Zink, or do you keep Garner in and push him forward? Do you even think about bringing in Cafu? At the moment, it's nice, and we've got options, haven't we? Panzo on the left side, perhaps. Hopefully, McKenna's fit. I think he'll want to be fit, but he shouldn't risk it himself, should he? Because we don't want him injured for any sort of league games afterwards. So they're going to have to be, you know, make sure he's all right, and just don't take any chances. And if need be, Panzo, Mbeso, someone like that can come in, and you know, they're all good players. We're overwhelmed with good. Well, I've got good options really everywhere. And it's just in the midfield. If you had a couple of injuries in the midfield, we'd be struggling maybe. But you know, the whole squad's looking completely different, and half of them, don't forget, were awful players, not good enough to be anything but bottom of the league, according to the previous manager.
Yeah, that's the massive difference from where we were to where we are now. It's unbelievable, the turnaround.
Yeah, I mean, I thought at the time that all the players were good players playing the worst football of their career because of his tactics, and there was a few that I thought weren't very good footballers. And to be honest, some of those that I didn't think could ever play football, they're the ones, some of the better ones now. So they're.
I think we're having some technical difficulties.
There we go. My headphones went funny. I'll see if I can reconnect that anyway. Yes.
I can hear you.
There you go. All right, let's go again. Let's see. I don't know why the Apple rubbish. Anyway, so yeah, what were we saying? So yeah, it's all looking a lot better now, isn't it? And they're all looking like sort of world beaters each and every other week. And you know, who's going to be player of the season? Who's man of the match? You're spoiled for choice every week, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean the 2 players that, one of them didn't surprise me, because obviously whenever you ask made the appearances, looked good, but the other one seemed to be in himself. Both of them are Caffrey and Joe Lolly. I mean, Caffrey came on the last 2 games, and especially Saturday, he looked really, really good. I mean, he set it up that finish for the fourth goal, and even when he came on Wednesday, it just doesn't look out of place. Like, it looks like a complete different player. Whereas Joe Lolly, he was like the Joe Lolly from 2019 when under Quanto, he was like, "Oh, we'll beat us." So them two has definitely like shown quality this week.
No, I mean, Cafu, I thought, was brilliant when he had it at the time, didn't he? Earlier in the week where he came on before half time because so he had. I think he came on. He was a little bit dodgy to start with, but the second half he's unbelievable. He did nothing wrong, and he's the right kind of player to bring on whether you're winning or losing. He's a good guy to sort of test their defence later on in the game. And Surridge also is another one like that. I think they're high energy guys. You can't when their defence is tiring. They've been having to chase after Jono all afternoon. Then it's more of a challenge for them, isn't it? So I personally, I'd like to see potentially Lolly get back on the right wing and give Jono a free role in the middle, more like a number 10. Could be a interesting option.
Yeah, definitely. Which is quite nice to have them options. I mean, we could have that flexibility now to, like, with the players that to go to the back 4, back 3, or play with like a 4-2-3-1 or whatever formation they like to call that.
Yeah, I know. It's very fluid though, isn't it? I mean, like they always talk about Spence and Brennan down the right, but often you'll find Wazza getting involved and far further up the field than you normally expect him. He gets to play a little bit of football, do a few little tricks and things that you'd never have seen him having to consider, avoid at all costs in his previous seasons. But they play a lot of football now, and it's entertaining, isn't it? They play on the edge, and you get the feeling, occasionally they lose the ball in midfield, a pass goes astray, but it doesn't happen very often. And they're stepping up to the challenge, aren't they? Which is wonderful to see.
Yeah, they are, and it is quite nice. I mean, going into that game on Sunday with Liverpool, I mean, you've probably seen quite a lot of Forest Liverpool games from.
So I've forgotten them all. I'm struggling with Huddersfield, to be honest. But in those days you only saw about sort of 5 minutes highlights, and that was it. That's what you lived off, and they're the ones, the little clips you still see today. So, but obviously they were all huge games. They were the biggest games of the season, weren't they? And Liverpool still begrudge us all the time to beat them and messed up their sort of run of success for those sort of 2-3 years when we were top dogs. So they've got grudges against us rightfully, and we've got a little bit of history as well. But they haven't beaten us for donkey's years, have they? At the City Ground, so it's 80s, something like that. Exactly, very long time. So we're the bookies' favourite, obviously. But it's funny because everyone was hoping for that to come out of the hat for the last couple of rounds, weren't they? So it was really great when it did.
Yeah, it's normally normally.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, we're always down Chelsea and all that kind of stuff. But it's going to just be a great day, and I think we'll put up a decent display. Who knows? There's a few questions about who we pick, who we have available. The keeper's another one, isn't it? What are you feeling about the keeper situation yourself?
I'll keep Hofarth in there. I've been saying it since Samba got sent off. Like Hofarth, unless he does something radical like Camberden or pick up an injury first minute, I'll keep Hofarth in there.
I'd give Samba this one myself because I think whoever it is going to have a busy day, and they could ship a few goals and they could make mistakes, and I think Samba's mentality would handle it better. I think he's probably a better goalkeeper, but it's hard, like you say, once you've given him the shirt and you've trying to teach someone a lesson, it's hard to know when to change it. So personally, I'd use the cup as an excuse to change it, see how it goes. If Samba comes in and if he plays brilliantly, well, then he's hard to drop, isn't he? And maybe you stick with him after that. And if he comes in and he ships loads of goals and he looks quite average, he's a bit sulky or whatever, well, you've got an option still, and you haven't kind of shot the confidence of it. But the thing I'm worried about, if you stick with Horvath, it gets near the business end of the season. Do you change him then? And if you do, you're disrupting the defence again, aren't you? And you kind of don't want to do that particularly. So maybe that's the reason to keep him in, or maybe it isn't. But ultimately, we don't know, and probably Cooper doesn't know for sure which one is his first choice. This is the guy I would pick, all things being equal, putting aside all the little debates about bad behaviour or attitude or anything like that. But for me, I think they're both brilliant shot stoppers. Confidence-wise, sort of with his feet as well, I think Samba's definitely got the edge, and I think he's far better getting the crosses. I think occasionally Horvath kind of bottles it, and you can't afford to do that.
No.
Someone like Van Dijk's just going to go bop, goal straight away. So he's got to come and get those things, and not, So there's been a few occasions, last couple of games, where I thought, it doesn't mean it doesn't mean he's never going to do it, but he's a little bit vulnerable to that, I think, or he has been.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the FA Cup won this season. Obviously, it stands for us to actually what could be coming, especially with it's been so close to the playoffs as well. So, obviously, hopefully, we can use this motivation for forcing this game as more of a spur us on for the rest of the season as well.
Yeah, I hope it. I don't think it will count against us either way. If we beat them, dear God, it's incredible. It can only give you confidence, can't it? You could, you should be able to play 3 or 4 games straight afterwards. And all those things about getting tired or getting injured, they'll feel like they're superhuman, every single one of them, if they beat them. And if they don't, well, you can take that on the chin and say, whatever the score, whether it's 1-0 or 6-0, it's Liverpool. What do you expect? They beat far better teams than us by XYZ score. So, I'm sure they'll go out with the right approach. They've got sort of the money in the bank. They've got the points. They've proved themselves in the league against top teams that thought they were pretty handy and discovered they weren't. And that's also a valuable thing when it comes to the playoffs. We're going to be the form, well, all things being equal, potentially we're going to be the form team going into the playoffs, having beaten a couple of these teams around us. They're not going to want to face us. They're going to be wanting to face someone else probably. And I think also Cooper over 2 legs or one, as a cup kind of coach, he's got to be the best in the league, really, I'd think, near enough anyway. So again, that's another big strength when it gets to that sort of format. So there's a hell of a lot to be positive about at the moment, isn't there?
There is. I mean, I was saying earlier, when we're talking about the score prediction for the game, and we can't really predict the score, because if those turns up, like they have done, you got to be confident that we can beat Liverpool. It's
possible.
Yeah,
it's possible. Obviously, look, if they put out their absolute best team, it's going to take a hell of a something. But football's a funny old game, isn't it? So, it's still possible. We're not pushovers. They've got VAR and all this kind of stuff, which will favour them, no doubt, if anyone. But, anything's possible. I just don't think we're pushovers now. They're not going to walk through us. It's been a long time since we had a Forest team which you really can't see conceding 2 goals, apart from very exceptional circumstances. More often than not, against any kind of team, you like to think we're going to be hard to score against, especially if you have like Cole back in front of the back 4. That's the thing. We're going to have a juggled defence, whatever happens this case. So, but if you had the full complement of Cook and all that and Cole back in front of them, then I'd be quite confident, we're going to keep them down to a low score. But, let's see what he does. He might surprise us. We might put out a weak team deliberately.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think they're all going to want to play, though, aren't they? Really?
You just get knocked on a note 5 o'clock Sunday. It will be interesting.
Well, it's going to be a historic game, isn't it? Like there's the VAR, the fact obviously that Liverpool have come back, the fact we're doing so well, the fact it's the latter stages of the cup is, it's what you live for, isn't it? Really. So, there's not many teams are more fun to support than Forest at the moment in the whole of the country or the world. We're doing stuff. And we should just enjoy it. And it's Cooper's largely responsible for that. And then the players for sort of supporting him and listening to him and letting him, and getting their heads down. All of them, the ones in the team and the ones on the fringes of this team.
You got any score prediction for the game, or?
It's hard, isn't it? Well, you go first.
I was saying earlier, I can imagine us winning. I think if we lose, I think it'd be down to a bit of quality. But I can't really see us losing. That's the thing, especially under Cooper.
Really?
But I mean, I might be a genius, but something happens if we win. But
personally, I think we'll make a good fist of it. There'll be maybe a goal in it or nothing in it at half time. I can see us losing 2-1 unluckily. You know what I mean? Where you feel like we could have won, should have won, a penalty or a VAR decision. I think we'll make a really good fist of it and probably be unlucky and end up losing kind of narrowly. That's my feeling. I think we'll probably score. They'll probably score and we'll probably, miss out on the odd goal. But I hope that, I kind of wouldn't mind that. Obviously, you'd rather win, but that would be a good scenario too. If you're going to lose, make a good fist of it at least and don't die wondering kind of thing.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I do really agree with that.
It's hard to say though, isn't it? Because like you say, they're not mugs. It's not, previous years when we played Chelsea and whatnot, you're going to get beaten, you're going to get rolled over by their sort of C team or whatever it is, but sooner or later. But we're solid now. I mean, again, it partly depends if McKenna's out and someone's making their debut and all that kind of stuff. It throws a bit of a spanner in the works. But, let's hope they just put on a decent display and make a fist of it.
I couldn't agree more. So I'd like to say thank you for Matt for coming on.
Brilliant. Well, let's hope next time we speak, it's it's been a good afternoon Sunday.
And semi-finals of the cup.
Yeah, well, you never know. You never know.
Yeah. So I'd like to thank you for watching.